this video, I'll show you the different watercolor brush stroke practices for painting loose flowers like these. So get your art supplies and paint with me. I'm using Baohong Academy cold pressed watercolor paper. This is a 300 GSM 100% cotton. This is size 7 by 10 inches. I'm using silver black velvet round brush size 6, and I have a Winsor Newton Professional Permanent Sap Green and Alizarin Crimson on my ceramic palette in tea consistency. Let's start painting lines, starting with a thin line using the tip of the brush. Then I pressed hard on my paper to create a wide line, and then slowly lift my brush to create a thin line. So this will be thin, thick, and thin line. If you are having a hard time painting thin lines, then you can practice using only the tip of the brush and avoid touching the belly of the paper. Then you can go back to practice thin, thick, and thin lines. You can fill the entire page if you want to. This is a good brush practice for beginners in watercolor. I'm painting in real time and not speed it up. You may pause the video if you want to follow or paint along. Remember not to rush and take slow in doing these brush strokes. Then, you can paint a leaf using the same brush strokes like this. You can curve your brush a little to paint simple leaves. You can also double the stroke so you can paint a wide leaf. If you slowly lift your brush, dragging the tip, you'll create a pointy leaf. You may also lift your brush right away to create a rounded tip leaf. I suggest practicing these simple leaf brush strokes until you get used to them. This time, I use only the tip of the brush to paint tiny strokes like these in different directions and angles. These brush strokes help paint small flowers and leaves. The next brush strokes are C strokes. It's like the first brush strokes with thin, thick, and thin lines, but on the thick stroke, you can curve your brush. If you hold your brush at an angle and press the belly of your brush harder, you can create a thicker stroke in the middle. This brush stroke is used in painting flowers like roses, peonies, and a lot more. I hope you find this video helpful. If you do, please tap the like button, subscribe to my channel if you want to see videos like this, and tap the notification bell so YouTube will let you know if I upload a new video. The next brush stroke is the S stroke. You can start by pressing your brush on your paper to create a wide stroke, and then go down to create the letter S, and then slowly lift your brush at the end to create a thin stroke at the bottom. I will create a simple loose tap view of a rose, and I will start with a tiny stroke using the tip of my brush, and then I'll create small C strokes around it. In painting a loose tap view of the rose, always have some small white spaces and avoid making the C strokes too tight, or else it will look like a ball of paint. You may move the paper around if you find painting the C-stroke difficult in other angles. C-strokes will be bigger and bigger as you paint, but you can draw a circle as your guide where you can end your rose. I'm painting the second layer of the rose, which will help to prevent the rose from looking flat, with a thicker watercolor consistency and more of C strokes. The C strokes this time are thinner, and you may add thin, small lines on the empty or white spaces. If you want to see a tutorial on watercolor consistency, you can tap the card at the upper right of your screen or check the link in the description box below. Just to review the basic strokes, here I paint a small leaf With the use of the tip of the brush, I paint a curved thin line as a stem, and I paint small leaves on both sides. Here it is again on another angle with a darker green, adding another layer of leaves. I'm painting a loose rose on a different angle this time with small C strokes and then S and C strokes combined. It depends on how your rose you like to look. You may check different reference photos of roses. Then I add a stem and small leaves. I do it again from a different angle. I add another layer of a darker color. I'll paint a petal stroke. It's almost the same with the thin stroke, but shorter and will look like a petal. You may also start with a thick stroke and slowly lift your brush to the end with a pointed tip at the bottom. You can also double the stroke for a wider petal shape. You can also do an S stroke and a C stroke combined to paint a petal. This is what it looks like from an angle. You may also paint from the bottom going up. It depends on your comfort. To paint a sample, I'll stipple my brush to paint the center of the flower. Then, with my brush fully loaded with paint, I add petals surrounded with the combination of the petal shape, C and S strokes. Here's another sample using a different color. Practice these strokes until you get used to them so you can paint beautiful loose flowers. You may also hold your brush near the end for more loose strokes. You can make the petal strokes longer, like when you paint a daisy, sunflower, dahlia, or any flower with longer petals. With the use of the tip of your brush, you can paint thin lines on top of the first layer of the flowers you've painted as details to prevent your flowers from looking flat. Remember, we practiced thin lines at the beginning of this video. This is the time to paint with thin lines for the details. You may also use a smaller round brush with a pointed tip or a raker brush for more thin lines. You may also add a darker color to the second layer of the petals like this. It can help your loose flowers to have dimension and your flowers will look fuller. Let's paint some leaves again as a practice. Remember to add a darker second layer to the leaves and thin lines as details. You can also make the leaves longer like this. I'm holding my brush near the end to paint looser and longer strokes like this. Here are the finished brush stroke practices with sample painting. Now it's your turn to do the same. I hope you enjoyed painting along with me. Remember to subscribe to my channel, and I suggest watching this video next that can help you paint more beautiful loose flowers.